All right, you're very welcome along. It is half-time here. It is half-time in Fukuoka, Ireland, 26-5 in front. This is a bonus bit of Rugby World Cup show on Off the Ball. The half-time whistle gone in Fukuoka. The good news for Ireland, they have their 4 tries, they have their bonus point, and if they just keep this ticking over, they will be guaranteed a place in the quarter-final. The bad news, though, Johne Murphy, Bundyaki has been sent off. It was one of these tackles that we had been expecting during the tournament, and we've seen red cards given for them. So it was a tackle connected with the head, with the shoulder. He tried to wrap his arms, in fairness, but it was shoulder on head. It was on the Samoan out half, Ed Fido. Red card given. We did see early on in the game as well, Samoa went down to 14 temporarily. They had a yellow card after their hooker Silela Lam had committed it. Again, it was a shoulder towards the head of Jacob Stockdale. We were talking about it a couple of minutes ago. You think red card was fair, yellow card was fair? There were differences between the two?
Yeah, differences for me, the two are you can see the Samoan hooker drops his height. You can actually see his hips drop low, and he tries to get in a really good position to make a tackle, probably in between kind of nipple line and shoulder line, where when you actually look at where Bundyaki's hips, his hips don't necessarily drop. He stays probably in a hunch, in probably a kind of three-quarter hunch position, rather, where the Samoan hooker drops completely.
Yes, so in those cases, we'll say in the Samoan tackler's one, his head and backside essentially are kind of in line with each other off the ground, parallel.
Yeah, and it's actually, if you freeze frame it, it's actually a really good position to be in for a low shot, a low powerful tackle to drive low to high, where Aki's positions, he just doesn't get that sink that is required, and that, I think, is probably where the mitigating factors come in. And to be fair to the referee, I think he's explained really well. He explained it to the Samoan captain and to the hooker. He said, look, there is mitigating factors here. You do make an attempt to drop, where Aki doesn't necessarily make that attempt to drop his hip height, which would probably drop it down.
And the impact of that then, I think for a few minutes we know Keith Earls had kind of drifted in to kind of fill up that hole in the centre in place of Bundyaki, and Robbie Henshaw had kind of gone inside him then. Ireland did look very nervous for a little while after that red card, didn't they? Yeah,
they got a bit loose then, you see. So the kind of, the flow of the game go against them, the momentum, and they got a bit loose, and they're probably trying to force it there. You see a forward pass and an interception from Keith Earls, and that's exactly what the Samoans want. The Samoans want this loose, unstructured game where the first 15-20 minutes is all kicking. It goes from line out maul, green zone attack, and so on. So it's very structured from Ireland. And then when they need to actually really control the ball, get in tight, they start to play a bit loose, just because they're a bit kind of scattered at times. So they managed to regain control and get that fourth try for the bonus point, which is massively important, and just gives them a sense that they can relax. All they need to do now is just completely control the ball, not try anything too drastic, stick to what they were doing in the first 10-15 minutes, keep the scoreboard ticking over. They don't need to go to the touchline, just keep knocking over your 3, 6, 9, 12, and they'll be fine.
Yeah, and up until that bonus point try right on half time, it was following similar lines to the Russia game. I think Ireland had started very well, controlled things, they were keeping it in tight, they were dominating possession and territory, and they got their few scores on the board, and then the nerves kind of hit in when they went looking for a fourth try. And had Johnny Sexton not got over in those last couple of minutes before the break, we could have been seeing another 20 minutes after half time like we did against Russia. But as you say, now they can just keep things ticking over, safe in the knowledge that all they have to do now is basically finish ahead of Samoa on the scoreboard, and they're guaranteed a place in the quarterfinal.
Yeah, exactly. They just stay calm, stay controlled, go to the touch. If you have an opportunity for 3 points, take it. Just keep that scoreboard ticking over, and try not to give Samoa opportunity. Samoa had, I think they've taken 2 or 3 quick line outs, just because they want the ball in play. They want to get unstructured. One of those was deep in their own 5 metre, in their own 22 or in their 5 metre line. You're kind of going, what? But that's what they want. They want to play that unstructured game. So Ireland just need to, 14 men on the pitch, control, get in nice and tight. I wouldn't imagine they'll probably be playing off 10 a whole lot this time. Win the kick battle that they have done. They've won the kick battle every time they've gone to it. Keith Earls has got up in the air for a really good box kick off Murray. Even when Murray went long, Samoa kick back. They're winning those kick battles, and they're finding grass. They're ending up with line outs inside the Samoan 10-metre line. That's exactly what you want out of your kick battle. So don't go off script too much. Keep that plan in place, and I don't think there's going to be too much of an issue into the second half. But as you say, if they didn't get that try, nerves can set in. They can look to force to try and get that bonus point straight away, where they don't need to now. So rather than the shackles being off and going out and trying to express yourself and play, they don't need to do that at all. Be smart, just keep everything ticking along, and they'll be fine. Yeah,
before the second half gets underway, we'll just run through the tries briefly as well. Started out 4 minutes in, Rory Best finishing off the back of a maul. Did go to TMO to check and see was CJ Stander offside, but the try was given. 5 minutes later, then on 9 minutes, Tyg Furlong carrying about 4 Samoan defenders over the line with him, and then 2 brilliant tries for Johnny Sexton. The first one, 21 minutes. Lovely bit of play from Jordan Larmour, creating the gap and just drawing in Tim Nanai-Williams and finding Johnny Sexton with an offload then before Sexton's try just before half time. A scrum 5 metres out for Ireland. Sexton coming over to the blind side, and it just created a nice little overlap for Sexton to go over. Your analysis of those tries, Johnny, ideal start for Ireland. Rory Best going over on 4 minutes.
Yeah, very much so. It goes from they win the kick battle, as I said. Fantastic. They get a penalty. Samoa's ill discipline at the start of the game gave Ireland an opportunity to kick to the touch. Johnny Sexton had 2 absolute boomers down, giving them an opportunity to maul just outside the 5 metre line, and really good setup. I don't really know why the TMO was coming in there. You could see it on the referee's face when he was called. He was like, no, they're pretty much attached there all the time.
Yeah, they were. Just to go through the rule, even, it was that he was trying to see had CJ Stander broken off to kind of obstruct any Samoan defenders, but the maul had stayed as one.
The maul had stayed as one. There was a tiny window where you could slight argue that he came off, but it was not in real time. It was very much in kind of frame by frame mode. And then the second try followed the same. Ill discipline from Samoa, line out and then into their green zone attack, and Tyg Furlong has a fantastic carry to finish on his own. The third try was made by Jordan Larmour's individual footwork, taking a guy one-on-one in a 2v2 situation with Keith Earls outside, gets his arms free, and he had an opportunity to go outside or inside. 2 really good support lines from Keith Earls on the outside, brilliant support line from Johnny Sexton on the inside, nice little offload, and in he went. It was all quite simple, but really nice bit of individual brilliance there, and shows what Jordan Larmour can give you in those close quarter contact zones. His individual footwork one-on-one will create those holes, and that's probably something that pushes Rob Kearney, in terms of next week's selection, hopefully when we get there, that those one-on-one opportunities, that's what Larmour gives you in those wider channels.
Almost time for the second half to get back underway in Fukuoka, but based on what we've seen in the opening 40 minutes, we know now Ireland just have to see this out and get over the line, and they're guaranteed a place in a quarter-final. More than likely, probably against New Zealand, you'd be thinking, what have you seen in the first 40 minutes? Would you be to make you feel a little bit better maybe about feeling the All Blacks?
I think their controlled their controlled kick battle in the first 10-15 minutes was excellent. They were very clinical. Every time they got an opportunity, they more or less scored, or they created an opportunity. I think against playing someone like the All Blacks, you have to have that structure, and you really have to go after them in the air. Kicking to them loosely suits them down to the ground, but if you can put them under pressure, put their back 3 under pressure, contestable kicks, then you might get some scraps to get a foothold in territory. But it's going to be a completely different spectacle, I think, when you get to that quarter final. It's a one-off game and anything can happen. So, but you'd be happy with to be able to say that you got the 4 tries in the first half. Shows that there is an incremental improvement from the lads. So hopefully they can just see out this 40 minutes and plan to what is a massive massive game next week, all going well.
Okay, second half almost about to get underway in Fukuoka. You won't have to wait long to hear a bit more of Johnny and us on Off the Ball, because we're going to be live on the air in just over 10 minutes time. Nathan Murphy will be in studio where we'll carry you through up until full time as well. We'll have plenty of reaction as well, and we'll also be looking ahead to Ireland, Republic of Ireland against Georgia in Tbilisi. Richie McCormack is live there for us. We'll be checking him in with him just after 1 o'clock. We'll speak to you in 10 minutes.